Hi, welcome. My name is Wilkowski. On this video, it's part of my series called Flipping the Script. I'm trying to respond by way of a trainer out there. Goes by social media name K9 Tay off of YouTube. And I'm going to be doing a breakdown by way of this permissive bribery-based approach. And again, talk about trainers out there such as even Robert Hines, very similar. If you look at how he engages a relationship problem between dogs and owners in terms of, again, a permissive encounter with dogs, you're going to hear the same themes here as I talk through this video. Title is How to Walk a Fearful Dog. Okay, and I talk about the issue about a relationship problem. Once a dog has gained control in a relationship, it brings a stress load onto a dog. And so the reactions are such that it will offer up a fearful type of a reaction based again on stress on the dog. But the solution, okay, in terms of your role, in terms of, again, talk about leadership, talk about the core ingredients, influence and control, how they come through to start to not just take the stress off the dog, but start to change the perceptions of a dog the right way. And again, I encourage you to watch the videos on my YouTube channel. You'll see me working with dogs that are under tremendous stress and how to move forward in terms of following a path of nature. And again, I talk about this is where the human problem in terms of how we react and respond to certain reactions gets us in trouble. Because again, you have to apply context. So when you again react in a more of an emotional way in terms of dogs that, again, I talked about a situation in Canada, the dog got hit by a vehicle, injured, dog became aggressive, based again on the fact the owners did not let it go. Okay, they started to change how they're interacting, putting emotion on the dog, and create this type of scenario where they start looking at it as though, well, there must have been something that happened, which it did, but they didn't understand that they changed from that moment moving forward. They wouldn't let it go. They were putting, high emotion onto their dog. Once they realized that nature deals with things differently, okay, based again on the social aspect of that connection, the dog right away started to change for the better, and the relationship got back on track very quickly. Now here, this is the same thing. When you encounter these permissive bribery-based dog trainers, understand they're trying to find a way to, move beyond these issues, but it's totally superficial. I understand it lacks any depth. The whole thing about they're trying to gain agreeableness. They're trying to gain a way to make the dog, better, but it's all based again on control. The dog actually maintaining control, which offers up at times an image of a balanced dog. Understand that this permissive bribery-based connection or way of engagement will appear to work at times. But what you'll see is what you'll find, like always, you'll find that you're never truly going to fix the dog. The dog, you're going to have problems. Nothing's actually changed. But again, the problem here is that because people enter into this in terms of they don't want to change how they think, they don't want to, start to bring a dog under a level of intentional control and influence. They think that somehow they can get around this, and this sets people up to be totally deceived by way, again, of this way of engagement. So I'm going to play some of this video. Now, this person, K9 Tay, you go in, I had a hard time actually finding the actual video, and here you're not even seeing one of her actually interacting with the dog. The most of her stuff is just these permissive bribery-based, breakdown videos, attempting to again take advantage of the confusion in the dog training world. But when you do actually find a video of her interacting with dogs, it's totally bribery based, permissive, and again, this is what you're seeing out there with some of these trainers in the dog training world. So again, I'll play some of this video, talk about this whole issue about the fearful dog. Again, to help people understand that when you engage this way, you're setting yourself up for major problems.
How's it going, doggy people? I hope you all are doing well. Today I'm going to answer a question that I got in my comments, which is a very good question about how to get a dog that's in a shelter situation, a very nervous dog, how to get them used to going out on leash without being very fearful. This dog, from what I've heard, is the only way you can get them out for a walk is to corner them, and they shut down, and then that's the way you can get the leash.
Now I'll talk about this whole thing about, this is the thing about dealing with once a dog is under a lot of stress, has gained a high level of control. That's why they're in the shelter probably in the first place. It's about, again, there's some accommodation. Okay. I talk about, recognizing, okay, the current state of the relationship in terms of where you're at. And so it's always about maximizing agreeableness, but not going over into the side, okay, of, permissive engagement and engaging by way of bribery. Okay, understand that that's not going to be your ultimate solution. It's not going to fix the relationship. It may get the dog to come into agreement. And see, this is the deceptive nature of this type of approach. Initially, you may get the dog to be agreeable, to connect, but it's not the fix. Understand, it doesn't actually resolve the relationship. Just like, again, talk about the selfish child example. Sure, you can get a selfish child to play nice with their peers or to share in terms of the themes I talk about, bribery, accommodation, negotiation. To those themes as a parent, you can get moments of agreeableness to happen, but it doesn't mean you're fixing anything. Okay, it's just that you're getting through a situation or you're creating a moment of agreeableness, but you have to understand, you have to apply those, you have to look at the actual context of those themes and reconcile those to the relationship itself. Okay, you have to line this stuff up. So here, when you talk about cornering a dog, you wouldn't actually engage in a way. You may even initially use a treat. Like I talk about this whole issue about, management versus change. You may actually, connect, in a more of just a calm way to get the dog to come into agreement. But the point is to actually fix the relationship, you need to shift gears, okay? Those core ingredients, they need to come in, okay, to actually fix the relationship. So when you're dealing with a dog, say, that is, at this level, then yes, there is some accommodation because you don't want to get bitten, okay? Understand that you want to keep it safe. But you have to understand the difference here between, at the point of connection and the issuable change itself. But most trainers, like this particular trainer here, that's not their way. Understand, that's not their default setting. It's not about those core ingredients coming in. They're not approaching it as a type of intervention through a kind of intentional interaction-based method. That's not their approach. Their whole foundation is permissiveness, bribery, and deception. They're deceiving themselves, okay? And this is why you get dogs out there and you start to bring those core ingredients come in certain interactions. You see everything fall to pieces.
Sean. And then I don't know how they're taken out after that. I don't know if they're drug out or they have to be carried out or whatnot. But
and again, it's ridiculous. All these permissive trainers, and this is what it's almost like they can't talk normal. Okay, they can't. It's always about dragging out or violence or it's always this over the top language. It's like that's what happens when you're way over on one side of the equation in this permissive type of idea of things. Pay attention to how they package things up through their language. It's not normal. Okay, it's not normal in the sense that it's always over the top language to try to label, describe something.
To me, that just sounds like a very bad situation for a lot of reasons. One, that the people have to corner the dog, and of course, mostly for the dog. The dog, in the words of, I believe, the trainer that's working with this dog, or a trainer, I don't know if it's the trainer, they're all volunteers. The trainer says eventually the dog will associate the walk as something good, which can happen. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. That's not a given. So
what's the difference between a
It's nothing against the trainer. This is just my opinion. I've worked with many, many dogs that are very, fearful, feral dogs who have been raised in a family. They've just never been on a leash before and they freak out. So when I work with a dog that's this fearful, the first thing I want to do is gain their trust. Okay.
It's the same thing I said, but here's the thing too. These trainers, go on their social media, K9Tay, you see you'll see, a full transparency with how great this permissive bribery-based ideology works. Got lots to say about all these other individual balanced dog trainers to go through it all, but good luck finding video content where they bring this out into the light, out into the open, so that you can, again, put the picture to the test, put the relationship to the test. You always see this.
First off, by trying to get this dog out for a walk, and you can only catch it by cornering it, and then it shuts down, you put the leash on, you're working way too fast. In my opinion, don't worry about the walk right now. You're not ready for a walk. If you get it out for a walk, and say you get it outside, and okay, they may act fine, or they may freak out at the nearest noise, a plastic bag, a garbage truck, somebody on a bicycle or a car going by, and then they freak out there. And although they're on a leash and they're walking, they have so much more to worry about outside. And what if they get away? You haven't built that trust with them. So
always the same thing about, trust, right? And again, I keep bringing up, Robert Hines, trust method, right? Permissive, trust, context of trust, based again on the current state of the relationship. Understand that one of these things that these trainers never arrive at, or they don't connect dots that way in terms of actually reconciling what behavior issues even represent. Okay, based again on the relationship itself, based again on how a dog's decision-making process influence and govern. I talk about control manifests through a dog's state of mind. It's an expressed state. And so you even get this issue about, again, going over the selfish child example, as the child becomes more and more selfish, what happens? Behavioral issues escalate. You understand, you're just tying it in. But this whole thing about trust, gaining trust, but current state of the relationship. How, if you're trying to gain trust, but the dog's already gained high level control in the relationship, what does that even mean? Well, it's permissive, right? Trust, tying it in a way that you're in a weak position. Okay, dog's going to be agreeable, but the dog's already in control. See, and this is how this works. This is how these trainers, build bridges. Not the right way. That's why the relationship actually doesn't get fixed. Because they start to project their emotions into it that way. I talk about the ability to reconcile the response to the relationship. This is absent here.
For me, first thing I do is I go in the kennel, I just sit down, I'm sideways to the dog. So I'm not going to sit facing the dog, so I would sit sideways, the dog is to my left or to my right, and I just kind of ignore it and just toss some treats. I'm going to get the dog used to me moving my hands, moving a little bit at a time, strategic desensitization, which means you have timing, you have feel. Timing, obviously meaning...
Now, understand, same thing here. There's nothing wrong. If I'm dealing with a really aggressive dog, I'm not going to, even if I'm working with board trains, you'll see, if I'm working with very aggressive dogs, I'm kind of loosey-goosey for the first couple of days, okay? I'm not, those core marines that talk about influence and control, they're not coming in a certain way, in a way it's going to create high challenge, okay? It's like an awareness as to where you're at in the relationship. It'd be like, again, going back to the selfish child example, it'd be like a parent going in and they're very, say, annoyed about, a selfish child's like highly invested in the video game system, and they're going in, they're frustrated, they're upset, and they're just going in and ripping the video game system out of the wall. Okay, you shouldn't do that. You're not going to do that. It's because there has to be a working through as well. You have to understand it's a journey. So, even if I'm dealing with a very aggressive dog, I'm aware I'm going to be very intentional with not, with how I'm connecting that way. So it is going to be more just leveled out, very leveled out. But also have an awareness too, and this is where this isn't part of, say, Canine Tay or any of these other bribery-based permissive trainers, even with a lot of balanced dog trainers, where it ties into a proper process where you understand the core ingredients, how they have to come in a line, the integrity of that methodology, how it has to come together and maintain that integrity for a period of time. There's no switching gears that way here. Okay, this is just totally, the foundation itself is based on the trust, the permissiveness of it. So it's just like, it'd be the same thing as the way you want to see this is a very selfish child that trusts the permissive parent who's enabling. It's like a codependent type of thing. They're going to that parent because they get what they want. And the parent saying, well, the child trusts me more. Well, the child doesn't trust you more. The child's going to you because you've signed a social contract with that child And see, this is the problem here. There's no depth, there's no context. This is all, but this plays into people's emotions, because if you're highly emotionally connected with the dog, then this is like, well, this is great. I can have my cake and eat it too. I don't have to change my parenting role, so to speak. I don't have to change how I think. I don't have to take control. I don't have to, in terms of leadership, I don't do any of that. And see, that's the lie that's being held out here by many of these trainers. That's the lie that's been embraced in the dog training world. This idea that trains a learning-based exercise is permissive. It ties into this type of dynamic.
Up, down, up, down. As an example, feel would be, you do this, and if the dog is, kind of wincing away, say I'm trying to pet the dog and they keep doing this and I keep doing this, that's not feel. You're not feeling, you're not understanding the dog's pressure.
Talk about pressure. It's ridiculous. Here's the thing. When you're reaching out to pet a dog, that's influence right there. I mean, we look at the optics of, say, reaching out. We just look at that as okay, I'm trying to, express emotion through that. But it's actually control. You're trying to take control in that initial reaching out part, and the dog's gain control is going to pull back. You have to really think about the dynamics or the context of, talk about certain, core ingredients here through certain interactions, why dogs react certain ways.
You're putting too much pressure on the dog. You don't learn that, oh, okay, this is too much. But if it's just here, the dog doesn't move away. Perfect. We stay there. That's their threshold. So I put my hand here, and then eventually I can go a little bit closer and then away, closer and away. And every time I do this and the dog doesn't move away, perfect. If I do this and every time the dog moves away.
Shouldn't be petting an aggressive dog anyway. Okay, period. That's the thing. That whole emotional thing. The thought shouldn't even be in someone's head to even connect that way with an aggressive dog.
You need to learn to do something different. You need to take more time, work slower. So first thing is, I would just be in there and I would just have a leash and I would just kind of, work with the leash a little bit, wiggle it a little bit and put it down. Wiggle it a little bit, put it down, toss a treat. My goal is to desensitize the dog to my being there and having any kind of a tool, whether it's keys, whether
the same thing. Here, this is all about, and go through this, you can read this, this is all permissive. Understand that there's no switching. The point here is say there's no switching gears here, okay, by way of bringing those two core ingredients into a process. Okay, this is the trust part, talk about desensitization, okay? It's about creating associations through, using treats, right? It's about trying to build bridges the wrong way here. There's no switching gears. You want to be able to switch gears. But I understand these trainers out there, they don't switch gears because this is their parenting style, so to speak. This is their default setting. And I understand it sets people up for major problems, to get blindsided. Dogs end up back in shelters. But you see a lot of these individuals. I went into a shelter here a while back, and I encountered a force-free individual that was in there volunteering. And she came in and started getting in my space, starting to make comments. I didn't have a trainer shirt on. I was assessing a dog for a client, and I had to tell her to basically just get away from me. Like I didn't want to hear her foolishness, because that's not the type of thing that type of that type of advice, that way forward. That's something that shouldn't be happening in these shelters. Period. You want to save dogs, well, you want to bring in the right process. And I encourage you to watch the videos. I did some videos here of, not just force-free trainer like Zach George going into a shelter, but balanced dog trainers, Robert Cabral, going in, treats in their hand to assess these dogs. It's totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. The dog training world is totally upside down. So all to say that something to consider. I talk about, switching gears, what a process represents. But if you're in a shelter, if you're dealing with dogs, understand that it's all about relationship. It's about your role. It's about influence and control being part of the equation. You're dealing with a fearful, stressed out dog. Okay, it's indicative. It's a relationship problem. It's control. This is where fear aggression seems like a contradiction, going from fear to being aggressive. Think about that. Because it's a relationship problem. It's control. The stress is on the dog. It's going to offer up the appearance of a fearful dog based on the reaction, that stress load. What's the reaction as a human? Empathy. Wrong way to think. Okay, I love dogs, but it's understanding that nature works different that way. You've got to follow the right path to reverse course. Thanks for watching.